Guys, let's get real for a second. Nobody warns you about the drift. No one talks about it. It's not dramatic. It doesn't come with yelling, tears, or betrayal. It shows up quietly. It's like a sweet disposition. And every man that has allowed himself to peel away the layers knows exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes it shows up as a forgotten kiss, a weekend with no plans, a night where the TV stayed on and neither of you noticed. The drift happens when the relationship becomes more about responsibilities and less about intimacy.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Today I'm here hoping to be able to interview Joey Wilder. He is the creator, inventor, founder, you name it.
We have Joey Wilder, first time coming on the show.
But at that moment, I had a choice to make. I either hit this while it's hot, while people are hyped up about it, or kind of let it simmer out. And I've been told by many great mentors that it's all about the timing of things. Today's training is part one of what's going to be called the Come Home series. Now, you can take that literally, you can take that metaphorically, but today is going to be part one. And in the community, the guys that get these live, most people hear these on recording and they don't get the full spectrum. Any guy that is in the community that listens to these can tell you that is not the full call. A lot of things are cut out because I only want to share the training with the general, I don't want to say population, but with the general listeners. But my guys that listen to this and get this live inside the community, they get much more from it. We also are live in a chat together 24/7, and the chat is so exciting. It is like the best thing since sliced bread. But today is part one in the Come Home series. And for my guys in the community, you'll notice that every day on Tuesday for the next 4 weeks is going to be one of the Come Home series. Now on Friday, you'll notice that every day on Friday for the next 4 weeks is going to be a part of the Market Like a Monopoly series. Now, Tuesdays are going to be marriage, relationship, self. Fridays are going to be business and wealth. And I'm really excited to bring these trainings because these are things that I've done in different ways over the years. I presented on business and marketing for many years, long before I was doing what I've been doing for the last 5 to 6 years, and longer than that at this point. And during that, I've gotten to work in over 1,100 marriages. Now, throughout working in 1,100 marriages, that is not me saying that my way is perfect. This is the only way to do it. But what I am saying is in that I have gained and heard if I could go back, this is what I would do differently. And from that, I'm going to break today down in multiple sections. And my only hope is that you stay till the very end because I will have something for you. But part one of this is called the drift. And this is how couples actually lose each other without realizing it. I want you to take a second and reflect. Is there a moment that you recognize, whether you are single, whether you're going through separation, or maybe things are going well? Maybe you're in love. I'm talking like the real type of love where you're met in the same way. Not the kind that you have to chase for, and we'll dive into that today. I'm going to break it down step by step in a way that I've shared in ambiguous ways and in ways that I've really peeled away the layers and helped men get back to that place and really recognizing that reflection that reflects back to them in the mirror. But in this, I want to start with part one, which is called the drift, because before a relationship breaks, it fades. And before it explodes, it erodes. Part one of this Come Home series is the beginning of something different. It's not just another relationship tips and tricks training. It's not some overly spiritual bypass or esoteric or overly theoretical fluff. You can look at this as a reset. It can be a reset for your role as a man, a reset of how you actually choose to lead yourself, how you show up in your relationships, and how you start to refine the parts of yourself that you lost along the way, trying to become all of the things that you thought you wanted to be. The loss of that so-called identity can feel liberating if you let it. It does not have to be a prison, but the first step is you have to be honest, because what you don't name, you will keep living. What you do not face, you will continue to accept and tolerate in your life. And what most men won't name until it's too late is something that I call the drift. In the drift, this leads to section 2, which is the slow disconnection. And this is when you start to recognize that it didn't fall apart, it faded. You just didn't notice when it happened in the moment. Guys, let's get real for a second. Nobody warns you about the drift. No one talks about it. It's not dramatic. It doesn't come with yelling, tears, or betrayal. It shows up quietly. It's like a sweet disposition. And every man that has allowed himself to peel away the layers knows exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes it shows up as a forgotten kiss, a weekend with no plans, a night where the TV stayed on and neither of you noticed. The drift happens when the relationship becomes more about responsibilities and less about intimacy. It's when connection is replaced with coordination. And here's what makes the drift so dangerous. It doesn't hurt until it really does. It's numb, it's subtle, and it like creeps up. And when you try to run away from it, it follows you into the dark. Because then out of nowhere, how many guys, I'm sure, I know for a fact, many men that I have live with me will relate to this. But if you're listening to this right now and you're hearing this on recording, how many men out there can relate to, I just got hit with the, I don't know if I love you anymore. I feel like we're just roommates. I need space. I don't know if this is working. I think we should talk about things. Let's talk about the future. I'm not happy. And that's when most men choose to wake up. But by then, you are Bob the metaphorical builder, can I fix it? Trying to fix a fire with no idea where the spark actually went out. Because you were busy producing for the family. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. You were busy producing for the family. You were overworked, overwhelmed, underappreciated, and barely holding on by a thread. We've been there. There's some guys I'm working with right now, real time, that are in the depths. The depths come later. But he noticed the drift. And the thing is, this man pulled the trigger after trying for years and years and years to make something work, to try and fit a square peg in a round hole. I never understood that concept as a young kid because I always just made it fit. You guys know, like, you can like shave the edges a little bit. You can get it through if you really try. And so when people used to say that, I was like, no, I get it through. I make it work. Probably some parallel on how I viewed life at one point when I was younger. But a story for another time. But when most men wake up is when they hear one of these type of statements. And by that time, you're trying to fix a fire with no idea where the spark started and where to even go. I want to share a story about this client I have, and I'm going to call him Marcus. And I've changed details, and I always do this for any man that I share details with, any name. It's never the name of the person. And there's details that are specific enough that it's different. But the context and principle and story and experience is what's real. And I want to tell you about Marcus and how if you're a super successful guy in any way, and any man that I work with is, it's not all about monetary success. There's different levels of success. But this is why success can't save you. Because you can build the biggest business and still lose the bond. And Marcus had, I guess, what most people would call the life. He had 7-figure months. Yes, 7-figure months. He had a gorgeous home, a wife to spend his time with and who supported him, and kids who loved him. It's like 5 kids, and they adopted 2 more. Got like a compound. Yeah, they got like a compound. It's wild. And the moment that changed everything was actually when he was sharing with me. He said, Joey, I don't feel anything anymore. I'm doing all of this, and for what? She doesn't look at me the same. We haven't had sex in 2 years, and I don't even think she likes me. I think she just tolerates me because I provide this life. And it wasn't because he cheated or she cheated or that they fought all the time. They really didn't fight at all. They lived a really good life. Yet they drifted. They drifted and they just kind of stopped noticing each other. They stopped reaching out and they stopped seeing each other as lovers and started functioning as a team of operators instead of a pair of partners. And here's the scary truth that I shared with him. Dude, this isn't broken, which isn't a bad thing. It's just empty. And truthfully, that's a lot harder to fix because there's nothing to grab onto. That's a scary place to be. It's worse than limbo. Now in this, the next part is the real cause of the drift. Because Marcus and his wife, they're still doing the work to come back together. But realistically, what happens when someone changes, before I get into this next part, what happens when someone changes, one of 2 things happen. When we are deeply, deeply like ingrained, infatuated in love, deeper than love, like there's so much passion, like healthy passion. Not the kind where you're like, we beat each other up when we have sex just because we like to have makeup sex, so we fight. Not that kind of stuff, guys. I don't know anything about that, but I've met some guys that have shared that with me, and I'm like, dude, what did you just share with me? Wait, pause. No, don't skate over that. Don't go on. Pause for a second. What happened? I had someone punch me once. You guys know what I'm referring to. Had that happen once and it just stopped and I was like, no, we're done. This is done. So I'm not into that. But guys, when there's a lack of any care, there's no intimacy, there's no sex, there's nothing happening, and you've changed, they've chosen to just let you go. When there's immense love, even when you guys are butting heads, when someone starts to change and there's friction, meaning there's arguments that start to happen, what's truly happening is we don't know how to accept that that person is changing. And we're afraid that they're going to change into someone that we don't know how to love and that doesn't love us. This has just happened in a way that they didn't notice the drift. They both continued living these parallel lives that didn't really intersect for them. It intersected for shared responsibilities. That's a slippery slope because the real cause of the drift, it's not about what happened. It's about what never got repaired. Now, I'm breaking this down into 3 parts of the core drivers of what actually causes the drift. And if you're not aware of them, you're probably already in it right now. There's some guys that are listening to this, probably on recording, and they're probably like, yo, this might be me. But I'm going to start with number 1. And this is unspoken expectations. Unspoken expectations. How many times If I had $1 every time I've had a man share with me, well, she should know how I feel. She should know how I feel about that. And how many times I've had women like in a in-person setting share with me, like in groups, because people just like to chat about these things. And when they do, I have thoughts and I ask if they're open to hearing them. I ask kindly. But in this, guys, if I had $1 every time a woman asked me or said, he should know what I need. He should know what I feel. He should know what I want. Notice how both of you are assuming. Neither of you says it. Both of you resent it. And the result is two people waiting on the other to go first. Unspoken expectations. We're not willing. I'm just writing this. When it comes to unspoken expectations, we're not willing to just say the thing. These are the invisible drivers of the drift. Like, she should know versus he should just feel it. This is really where resentment brews. This is where it starts. This is the foundational layer. Because most couples don't break because of betrayal. That's not where the break actually happens. That's where the inflection point in your heart and soul and chastity and covenant dies. But that's not where it starts. They break because of unmet and unspoken and unrealistic expectations. You start thinking, I shouldn't have to ask for a thank you. She should just want to spend time with me, not be told that I'm planning time. I've done everything right. Why do I feel unappreciated? Because what starts to happen in this is we start to keep the score. We bottle things up. We test them instead of telling them. Guys, just be honest. How many times have you tested someone? Like your partner? Everyone has in some way. And like, I'm guilty of it too. I'm not perfect. I'm not a saint. But I check myself when I do, and I ask myself, why did I do that thing? And I'll be honest, I don't always own it. And that's a me thing to navigate. And I share this out loud because I don't want individuals out there that hear this to put me on a pedestal. I know things. I am not perfect, but my goal is to share them with you and collapse time so it doesn't take you as long as it has taken other individuals and other men that say, if I could go back, I wish I did this. So you're welcome. Thousands of men have chosen to sow into you by sharing their wisdom, because that's where these things come from. Things that actually work. And if I could go back, and I say that coming from every man that has come through these doors, if I could go back, this is what I would change. And this is for you. So I have a lot of young listeners on this, and there's an affluent range, but a majority of young listeners, and those young men that are listening to this, heed the advice, because it's coming from men that have gone through the fire and made it out on the other side, and some that have not. Some that have not. So recognize the power in hearing this. You know, I have so much gratitude for every single man that has shared with me when I have asked them, if you could go back, what would you change? That gives me, like, by proxy, these lessons learned that I did not have to walk through the fire through myself, but I've been with them as they walked through it side by side. So in the drift, you start to keep the score. You bottle things up. You test them instead of tell them. And you punish them with distance instead of communicating with clarity. And it's subtle. You think if I have to ask, it doesn't count. But the truth is, if you don't ask, they don't know. And then you blame them for failing a test they didn't know that they were taking. Right? Because we just don't want to be vulnerable. And I'm not here to talk about vulnerability or anything like that. If you want to watch a great talk on masculinity, my good friend Connor Beaton gave a TEDx talk on the mask of masculinity. And once his son is a little bit older, maybe he'll come in here and do a live training for you guys. He's a good friend. He did a training for a small community way before the last company I was in, like way before that, 2 years before it, inside a small Facebook group, and did this like as COVID was starting. Kind of gives you an idea of how long ago the timeline was. But maybe I'll reach out to him. But if you guys want more on like masculinity and vulnerability, check out his TEDx talk. I'll drop it in the description, because he mentions the drift and how so many individuals like don't accept this truth. If you don't ask, they don't know. And then you blame them, you shame them for failing a test that they didn't know that they were taking. And here's a real life example. I have this client that I'm going to call Michael. He expected his wife to initiate sex more, but he never said that. He just kept pulling away emotionally, feeling rejected, really taking his proverbial like sandbox toys to his own sandbox. And eventually his wife just felt unloved. And so she just stopped initiating altogether, because there was nothing happening on either end. Both wanted more intimacy and neither voiced it. The unspoken expectation became this shared disappointment, and the distance then became personal. When it wasn't, it was their own shit. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, no one is a saint. I've never met a man or a woman that did not add something to the relationship that led to a certain direction. No one is where they're at by causation or happenstance. You did not just end up where you're at. You are there from a byproduct of choice. There is always a choice. No one is holding a gun to your head telling you to do one thing or the other. If they are, like, get the out of there. Stop listening to this podcast. Trying to be funny, because in this, unspoken expectations are like these preloaded betrayals. You don't even know you're setting your partner up to fail, but every time they miss, it conforms or confirms, it checks this box of the story you've told yourself that you're alone in this and you always will be. Number 2, in the drift is role confusion. You're operating a household, not building a connection. When polarity collapses, the romantic energy of the relationship fades, because you're not lovers anymore. You're just co-managers. You discuss things like groceries, homework, bills, schedules, but you forget to flirt, to check in, to see each other as man and woman, not just mom and dad, worker, housewife. I am man. Guys, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Glad you guys laughed at that. But over time, both of you just kind of start asking silently, where did we go? Why is the person next to me on the couch so close physically, yet so far away? I had someone ask me that once. It was very close to me. And I was on the couch on my laptop. And this is a me story. This is a true story. I was on my couch on my laptop, and this is years and years and years and years and years ago. And she turns to me and she says, "Where are you?" And I looked at her and I said, "Earth." And she was like, "No, I'm right next to you. And I feel like you are so far away." She started crying. It broke my heart. I closed the laptop and I turned to her. I said, "Talk to me." And she'd shared how she felt like I wasn't present. And I appreciate this person for that, and like have immense gratitude for that moment, because it woke me up about this concept of like the kicker that I'm getting at is when you get to that point where you were not sharing in those experiences, she just wanted to watch a show. That's simple. And I believed in my mind that I was still watching the show, although I had my laptop in front of me. Guys, don't fucking lie. I'm censoring because I don't want YouTube to dox me. But do not lie to yourself. You and I both know when you were on your laptop or on your phone and you guys are watching a show, you're not paying attention. No, doesn't work. It doesn't work. Trust me, I know. I've like literally tried to test myself and like sit there working to see if I could remember like the lines on the TV. And I'm like, oh no, fuck no. There's no way I could do this. Just be present. Because those small details are sometimes part of the bigger picture. Truly. Because when this happens, the man feels emasculated and he starts to say, nothing I do is enough. And the woman feels exhausted. I'm doing it all and I don't feel seen or heard. Guys, how many times have y'all heard that? And you can present it like in this sense of like seeing it in your mind of you didn't sign up to run a logistics firm. You signed up for love, but you can't have passion if everything is scheduled and nothing is sacred and there's no fun. I literally said this to a guy the other day and I was like, it sounds like you just need to have fun. And he was like, what do you mean? Like he's a super successful guy. He's in his early 30s, like has had a lot of success in his career. And it's really cool because I like had a call with this guy like 6 years ago and almost hired him and then just told him straight up. I was like, no, you should go work for this other company instead. Like, don't come work here. I was honest with him. He was like, I have so much fucking respect for you for saying that. Like you literally told me, go somewhere else. Like I'm willing to hire you, but I'm not going to. I think you should go here instead. And it literally paved this road for him. And so he trusts me. And now I'm working with him in his relationship and now post breakup. Guys, I want to get him on here because he got hit with a breakup letter, like basically a goodbye letter during therapy. You guys know my thoughts on that, like out of nowhere. You guys know my feelings toward, yeah, I hope he sees this and feels the conviction from all of you, because once he was done sharing, I was like, you want to know my true thoughts about that? And it's not great. You guys all know, like nah, you don't do that. But now that he's on the other side, I basically shared with him the other day, like, you're not having any fun. Go have fun. So he shares with me, like, he went out and went dancing, went salsa dancing. I was like, yo, what? You did what? Did this on a Friday. He's texting me at like 12:30 at night. And he's like, I can't believe you're up. And I was like, it's really not that hard of a concept to accept. I stay up late frequently. I'm surprised you're up. You go to sleep at 8 p.m. But he was like jazzed from that. But he was willing to step out of his comfort zone and have fun. And you need to bring that same fun into your relationship, because if that fun is lost and the passion fades, there is nothing left. And that's when you start to feel like nothing you do is enough. And you start to accept breadcrumbs and just there's no sex. And guys, if there's no sex, like I had a man share with me the other day, they haven't had sex in 6 years. And he tried to convince me like, oh yeah, that's not a need of mine. And I was like, dude, shut the fuck up. Unless you're a eunuch or unless something has happened, which I completely respect, like you're a liar. He was like, well, how can you say that? And I was like, I'm a man. That's why I can say that. Like, this is my stamp of approval. I'm a man. You're a man. We both have the same binary and needs. Like, guys, you can't just convince yourself that this is not a thing that happens. If neither of you are having fun and there's no passion and there's nothing happening, it is only a matter of time and you're in the middle of the drift. As this third one is emotional avoidance. Emotional avoidance. Emotional avoidance is when we just want peace at all costs. But when you have peace at all costs, it eventually costs you everything. These are my guys that just want to keep the peace. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to cause an issue. Most men were never taught how to feel and stay. We were taught how to shut down, move on, keep the peace, and solve the problem. We were taught how to treat a woman good with kindness, respect, honor. And I'm not saying those are bad things. I believe in a traditional marriage. I don't believe in this new age shit. I won't get into it, but I had a conversation with someone the other day about it. And I was like, well, I just disagree. And they tried to tell me I was wrong. I was like, you continue to tell me I'm wrong, and I'm being kind in my candor to you. If I have to ask one more time, I won't be asking again. I'll be telling you my true thoughts based off everything you've shared about everything. And in this, guys, when you are in that place of shutting down, this is what actually happens. Instead of confronting those hard moments with any form of leadership, you start to dismiss our feelings as too much. You start to tell yourself that it'll pass. This too shall pass. And you get quiet instead of curious. Because to be honest, some of us are just afraid to hear the truth because we don't want to take ownership of our part. Not right then. We wait until everything is like so far gone. And I get it. It's kind of like when you don't want to check your bank account, but you spend money because you might have enough for that. Everyone's been there. It's like when you spend money, you're not supposed to. It's when you won't look at the due date of something just because you don't want to accept that you've procrastinated and it's going to be really difficult, yet you still do the same thing. Is when we start to get curious and we stay curious, we avoid suppressing what's true. But when we avoid suppressing what's true, we lose connection and respect. Is avoidance isn't protection. It's you neglecting yourself. And if you keep silencing what needs to be said, don't be surprised when she starts speaking to someone else or just not at all to anyone. These are the three dynamics of the drift. Now, in this, the drift isn't about anything that you've done wrong. It's about doing nothing at all. And truth be told, the antidote to the drift is intention with communication. It's not just love. It's not just effort. It's direction, intentional direction in your efforts consistently. Because when a man actually speaks clearly, a woman feels safe. And when she feels safe, she softens. And when she softens, she may return. And I'm just saying, for your part, it's so commonly we stop doing the things and stop showing up and doing those small details that were actually why the person fell for us in the first place. And it's okay to speak into those. For my guys that aren't in the place where they're in the dating world, heed these notes, take some notes. I know so many young men that they try to do these extravagant first dates. And I was like, dude, you strive to show up as the guy you are on the first date. What if you actually were him always? It wasn't just the version of you bring to the first date. And everyone does this in some way. I won't say that I don't, but in this phase, I'm not dating. It's exhausting. I'm exhausted of people. Some people will hear that and be like, oh, I could challenge that. Shut up. Guys, when you speak clearly, when you're intentional, and when you're consistent and you take ownership, it creates space for someone to return. During the drift, I've seen many men do this in different ways. Because during the drift, and once you've recognized these drivers, I've heard from men, I want her to want me, not just respond out of obligation. I wish she appreciated how hard I worked and without me having to bring it up. She expects me to read her emotions, but when I get it wrong, I'm the villain. And I've heard from women, I want him to lead, not just help. I shouldn't have to manage the emotional tone of the household and remind him how to love me. I need to feel pursued again, not managed. Guys, you're not wrong for wanting more. However, when you don't speak the need, you forfeit the right to resent any response. Does that make sense? When there's unspoken expectations, unspoken truths, when you are just keeping the peace, when there's just role confusion, like there's this cycle of someone wanting something, they don't ask for it, they miss it, you withdraw or lash out, then they feel attacked and you tell yourself that I'm alone in this. And then that just ultimately becomes your identity. You know? You start to identify with that part of the experience you're having that you've just lost these parts of yourself that really made you who you were. And I see this happen so frequently. Men come to me and they're this shell of a man that they once were, holding on by a thread, trying to climb their way back to the platform of their life that once was. Maybe you need to let go of that belief and start to build a foundation on a new belief. And maybe it's that you're not broken. You're not doing anything wrong. Because in this, I want to share with you what I call the drift diagnostic. If you're experiencing any of the above and you felt anything that I've shared today, and you're like, man, that's me. I've gone through that, or I'm going through this, or I don't ever want to go through that again. I want to share what I'm calling the drift diagnostic, because clarity creates power and ownership creates momentum. You can't lead what you're not willing to look at. You can't lead what you're not willing to look at. So before you go forward in this series, you have to pause and see. You have to actually choose to see. Not judge, not fix, just observe. You need to stop drifting and start leading. You need to stop just hoping for things to get better and actually take action towards making them better. Now, this is a 5-step process to help you build awareness and interrupt this silent disconnection and reestablish some emotional leadership. Because, gentlemen, no one is coming to save you. I'm here with you, but I cannot save you and do it for you. Now, write this out today. No filters, no blaming, just truth. Name the moment you felt the drift. When did I first start feeling emotional distance? Example, when we stopped saying I love you before bed, when sex started feeling like a transaction, when we started doing everything separately. And next, reveal the need you've been hiding. What's one thing that you want from your partner that you've stopped asking for? And if you're separated and divorced, do this exercise. It'll be healing for you, I promise. Maybe it's, I want to feel respected. I want to be touched without having to initiate it. I want to be admired again. As physical touch is my number one love language. When I and I don't mean like touch me like sexually. I mean like touch the back of my head. Like just touch my leg, touch somewhere on my body with your foot if we're laying on the couch on different ends. It's little things. And I pay attention, not in a neurotic way. But number 3 is identify your drift pattern. Are you a pursuer or a withdrawer? Which do you default to? The pursuer over communicates, over functions, and seeks approval. That's me. The withdrawer avoids, gets quiet, and checks out. That used to be me. Now, number 4 is name what you've silenced in yourself. I'm going to pause. that last statement, the pursuer, the withdrawer, this can shift and change depending on how you guys are attached to each other, the dynamics of your relationship, and also where you guys are currently at. So it's important to note that. But name what you've silenced in yourself. What part of me have I stopped bringing into the relationship? I've stopped being playful. I've stopped initiating connection. I've stopped showing up with direction. And number 5, own your drift decision. What have I been tolerating in silence? Maybe it's that you've been pretending that you're fine to avoid conflict. Maybe you've accepted the distance and the lack of connection as normal. This is the new baseline. This is just what happens. This is just where things go this far into life, Joey. No, it doesn't. Shut the fuck up. Don't try to tell me this. I said that to a man like the other day when we were on a call because he had asked me to be honest with him and be direct. And he was like, yeah, you can be crass if you want. And I was like, dude, don't sit here and try to tell me this is just where things end up. This is just where you've accepted, my friend. You can't sit here and tell me that this is what's going to happen this far in. Because you are a part of this statistic. You are not an enigma. Pain and uncertainty is not unique to your experience. You are experiencing it, and I know hundreds of others that are as well. But you need to own your drift decision, and you've been pretending that you're fine just to avoid conflict, and you've abandoned your role as the leader. Now, in this, I want you to give yourself 5 to 10 minutes right now after this call. I want you to dive into these. Give yourself a moment. Recognize the drift. Do your drift diagnostic, because clarity creates power. Now, when clarity creates power, I'm trying to pull this back up for you because I saw your message, Tom. Let's see. Got it. Clarity creates power, and ownership creates momentum, because you can't lead what you're not willing to look at. Now, this isn't to judge. This isn't to fix. This isn't to do anything outside of observe, because the drift doesn't always look like pain. It can look like politeness. It can look like numbness. It can look like I'm fine. But underneath is exhaustion. It's a quiet hope that maybe something could still shift. And this exercise, the drift diagnostic, is that first shift. Because I witnessed so many men living lives of quiet desperation. They're barely holding on by a thread. And if that's where you're at, everything you've done up until now has led you here, and it hasn't gotten where you want to be. It is time to make a change. So check out this exercise, and for anyone that wants to get more information on the drift and how you move through this, stay tuned for part 2. We'll be back next week. I appreciate y'all for being here. See you on the next one. Peace.